Hi, my name is Brad Martin. I'm a statistics major who somehow ended up in this foreign policy class. I'm going to be talking about civilian casualties and the effects they have on counterinsurgency operations based on what we've learned over the past 12 years or so in Afghanistan. The insurgency in Afghanistan started off with about 1,500 to 2,000 members, but it rose to a peak of about 30 to 35,000 members. And some top military officials believed that one of the main causes of this was civilian casualties. So in 2010, the military gave the National Bureau of Economic Research access to a classified database so that they could find out if there were anything to these theories. They found that there was in fact a statistically significant relationship between civilian casualties and increased violence in Afghanistan. This effect was noticeable a few weeks after the incident, peaked at about 14 weeks out, and lasted for a total of around 6 months. The data suggests that the main cause of this increase in violence was increased recruiting for insurgent organizations, as the friends and relatives of those civilian casualties looked for revenge. We've seen the same kind of thing happen in the drone strike campaigns in Yemen and Pakistan. So, given what we've learned about the long-term strategic consequences of civilian casualties, the question becomes, what can we do to mitigate this? General Stanley McChrystal, who was in charge of the International Security Assistance Force in Afghanistan, put out a counterinsurgency guideline which gave a few recommendations on the subject. One thing he suggested was to limit the use of airstrikes to situations where they were necessary to protect the lives of American troops. Another thing that he recommended was to limit high kinetic operations to isolated areas where civilians wouldn't be in the way. This ties into the proportional usage of force, where it doesn't make any sense to blow up half a village just to take out a couple of low-level guys who have no real strategic consequences. Getting back to the subject of airstrikes, one thing that we can do is end signature strikes, which is when the government sees a pattern of behavior and just sends an airstrike to kill a person without bothering to find out who they are or even whether or not they're actually an insurgent. It's quite possible that they have a legitimate reason for doing what they're doing, but no one bothers to look into it. Another thing we can stop is double tap strikes, where the same area is hit twice within a few hours. The second strike often hits innocent people, such as emergency responders or friends and family members of those who were killed in the first strike. Of course, the only way to completely eliminate civilian casualties is to avoid getting into a war in the first place. But if we do get into another war, we need to do whatever we can to reduce the amount of civilian casualties, to avoid getting drawn into another long counterinsurgency like the one we have right now in Afghanistan.